Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. I'm your host, Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. From lost trauma, disappointments, and devastation to healing, hope, and betterment, what has grounded me is my unbreakable spirit. We all have that spirit within us. Every week, I'm here to inspire you with stories of perseverance and growth. My mission is to help you crush self-limiting beliefs and to be unapologetically you. You are your only limit, so take action today. Let your unbreakable ride begin now. This episode is brought to you by Blue Skies Life, a lifestyle brand with high-quality, ethical, and sustainable products. There are products for your mind, body, and home, everything from calming tea and luxurious shea butter to Turkish towels and silk kimonos. The holiday season is upon us, so start getting these one-of-a-kind gifts now. Go to blueskieslife.com, that's BLUSKYSLIFE.com, and use code BU20 to get 20% off your order today. Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining us. And if you are coming back, thanks for continuing on to get inspired, because that is what this podcast is all about. Stories of people like my guest today who are sharing with us their wisdom that help us to recognize that we are born unbreakable. That's what this is all about. So my guest today is Martina Wall, and she is the founder of what I just love the name so much, Mystic Mama. And Martina, I'm going to let you share your story in a minute, but what I will say is that she's gone through her own journey of self-love and and had some difficulties and challenges, just like many of us who are listening today. We are all probably in that same boat in that journey, but she was able to change that experience for her from going to feeling not worthy to truly loving who she is and the skin that she's in. And today she helps others to find that self-love, that self-growth, and that self-worth. So I'm really excited to be able to dig in with you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, we have to start, like I mentioned, with your journey through self-love, because it wasn't always like this, where you woke up and you were like, yes, girl, everything in the mirror.
Yeah, no.
Let's take it back
No.
to when you were in a place where you had to work to get, before you got here. What was that? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so my journey started when I was in my early 20s, had 2 kids, and I started to go on this journey of thinking that weight loss was the answer to my happiness. I was feeling, I had self-hate for myself. I didn't like who I saw in the mirror, and I thought the only way to change that vision of who I saw in the mirror was to lose weight. So after going on a dramatic weight loss journey, I got to the end of that journey. I lost close to 100 pounds. And then I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, I still hate who I see. I felt no different about who I looked at in the mirror than I did when I was almost 100 pounds heavier. And so I felt crushed. I felt defeated. I felt super low confidence, low self-esteem. Like my relationship suffered because of it with my husband and my kids and my family. And I didn't know what to do, because I thought, as a societal kind of decision, or like society and diet culture taught me, that's what I needed to do in order to be happy and in order to be confident and successful. And so when those things didn't happen, I felt so low, and I didn't know what to do. So that's when my journey kind of took me, actually I feel like my kind of turning point is when I went to my first yoga class, and my instructor just really allowed me to connect to my body and my breath and acceptance of exactly who I was in that moment, and meeting myself on that mat really allowed me to feel that sense of being home, which was so powerful. Wow. So from there, then I kind of stepped into this whole nother world of kind of inner healing, right? And so taking that self-hate that I felt for myself and that was sabotaging and distracting all of my relationships, like to be raw with you guys, like I wasn't intimate with my husband for a year because of how horrible I felt about myself. It was not for lack of his love or anything like that, but it was just such a I hated what I looked like and felt like so much that I couldn't bring myself to be loved. And so that's when I went on this inner healing journey, and I was able to start to figure out who I was from the inside out. And I did this through, like, once again, like yoga was like a life-changing practice for me. I became a yoga teacher shortly after that. And I still, I've been a yoga teacher for 8 years now. And that kind of has allowed me to dive into the kind of inner healing world of helping to kind of, once again, get to know myself, I started to love who I saw in the mirror. And that was, you know, doing a lot of like coaching and like personal development and journaling and, you know, diving into the world of aromatherapy, like all these different practices that I started to kind of incorporate into kind of my self-love toolbox. After being consistent with all those practices for the last 3 or 4 years, I can know now that I love who I see in the mirror. Like, yes, there are some days when I look at myself and be like, oh yeah, you don't look good today. And those are all, and like we had talked before, I feel like our journeys are never ending with self-love. Like self-love isn't something that you just check off the boxes and you've won, right? So it's all about being consistent with your healing, being consistent with showing up for yourself. And so much of my journey has been stepping out of comfort zones and really doing so much hard work that often feels super lonely. And I know I felt lonely for a long time when I was kind of going against the grain. Everyone else was like, you need to excessively diet and you need to excessively exercise, and that's the only way. And I was like going the opposite way. I was like, I'm going to take care of my mind, my body, my soul, and I'm doing it this way. And if you want to come with me, I'm here to help you. Let's go. So, and it still is hard. It's hard to this day to kind of go against what society says we need to do in order to kind of feel that inner healing piece. And so I'm constantly being reminded that I'm going against what society tells us to do. And I've become very confident at knowing that, you know what, this way has helped me so much and helped me to transform the way I feel about myself. Like my relationships are thriving. You know, I've stepped out of comfort zones in a way that I have left 9-to-5 jobs and I am my own boss now. Like I've done all these amazing things, and that's been because of my self-love journey. Because if I didn't take the time to get to know myself and discover that inner healing piece, I would not be where I am today. So it's so important. And I like to describe it as self-love is like the roots of our core, like our branches of our tree. And all of the branches are all of these pieces, like our confidence, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our careers, our, you know, following dreams, like all of these things are connected. And I feel like the core of our being is our self-love. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And just describing to you a little bit of my journey.
Awesome, Martina. It's so awesome. And I can't get over the comment that you made about I met myself on the mat. Like it wasn't until you had this sort of defining moment where you were actually present with yourself in that time that you recognized who you really are, not what society is telling you to be, like you're saying with the different fad diets, but who you truly are. And that's such an important message of Born Unbreakable is be unapologetically you. There's nothing to apologize for being different and going against the grain, you know. But I do think it feels like this thing that you're up against all the time, because let's face it, the society that we live in, whether you're in the US or Canada, where Martina is, or probably many other countries, is what do you see when you turn on the TV? Okay. Every commercial is about some fitness thing, which is, there's nothing bad about that. It's great. Like exercise is
no.
It's one dimension of our well-being, but there's also, there's food, there's like you said, healing, there's other aspects of taking care of ourselves that's underplayed, because what gets overplayed is the exercise, is the Instagram models, the Victoria's Secret vibes. The cool thing is that there is a wider spectrum, I do think, that's getting shared as it relates to even like models and stuff like that. You know, we've seen that with certain like even pageants that are widely watched across the globe. But we're far from where I think we need to be in terms of truly embracing
absolutely
differences with body image and, you know, and things like that. So thank you for just acknowledging that it's not easy and that it's a continuous journey. You know?
Yeah. No, it truly is.
And so, you know, going back to what you said, what you and I had started talking about before, you know, we started the interview, is it is a continuous maintenance thing. You know, it's not just like you wake up and you're like, I love myself, and then that's it. You know, so what for you, what are the things that you personally have adopted that has allowed you to maintain an essence of self-love that you can embrace all the time, not just, you know, at certain moments in the day or in the week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So over time, like, I feel like I'm always adding things to my toolbox, I like to call it. But my biggest things for me have been finding movement that I love. Like when you were talking about how, you know, society shows us, or like commercials are always showing us all these fitness things, and fitness is super important. Like physical activity should be a part of your self-love kind of routine. But the trigger is to find movement that you love. And that's been something that I have found that, so, like, I exercised before in order to burn off X amount of calories, to, you know, have the most high intensity type of workout. Like I was never working out because I loved it. I was working out because that's what I was told to do. And so when my kind of mindset changed to be more of a mindset of like, I'm going to do the things and move my body in a way that I love. So like, I love walking, I love kayaking, I love yoga, of course. And like, you know, finding those soul movements that really just allow you to feel, like you're taking care of yourself. Like that is one of my biggest acts of self-love, is making sure that I'm taking care of myself by moving my body in a way that feels amazing to me. And so that's kind of one of my first ways that I think I am consistent with my self-love journey. And my second way would probably be like a daily journaling practice is huge for me. It's my kind of daily practice, just to share with you guys. It kind of involves affirmation work, which has been a huge part of my healing as well, on just, you know, picking affirmations that really resonate with me. And I write the same affirmation down for like weeks and weeks and weeks before I kind of start to feel like, okay, yes, I got this. I'm going to move on to another one. And then my second practice that I do in my journaling is gratitude. So just finding things that I'm grateful for every day, which I think is so important in any work that we do. But I think with me, I really try and be specific with being grateful for things that my body does. And so when we're talking about body image and self-love, it's really important to be grateful for things that your body does for you every day. Like my body digests my food every day. My body allows me to do yoga. My arms allow me to hug my kids and my husband. Just, you know, finding those little things in life that you can be grateful for, but grateful for what your body does. Because so often we forget about this vessel that is carrying us through life, right? Mm-hmm. And then I kind of end my journaling, my daily practice, with some goal setting. And I have found methods from other people that have helped me. And it, you know, your goals can be around whatever you want them to be, but I like them to, the big trigger with how I've kind of been able to check off goals as I'm doing this practice is writing them down as if they already happened. And that has so much power in it itself, of just being able to write these things down. And just, I'll even go so far as like, if it's a specific goal that I'm working on, writing down what it's going to feel like when I get to that goal. Like, what do I smell? Like, connecting to my senses. So connecting to what it feels like, what I can taste when I'm there, what I can smell, what I can hear, like, and just bringing that moment alive is so exciting to me. But that's more like, and I think with self-love too, people don't realize it encompasses so much more than just self-love. Like, it's how you're able to start dreaming and being confident and chasing after things that you want, where if you don't have the self-love piece figured out, you're probably just going to stay stuck, and you're not going to, you're not going to evolve and become exactly who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
So those are kind of,
those are amazing. Those are amazing because, and the reason I love that you delved into those details is because it demonstrates that the daily practice that is the sustaining factor here, because there's a number of things. Just to summarize, you talked about movement, and that could be different at different times, right? Like sometimes, today it's yoga and tomorrow it's like dancing or whatever it is. For me, I love to dance. So I'm like Zumba and all that kind of stuff. It's like my jam. So I'm all about that life. But like you said, journaling and affirmations, you talked about that. And I love the gratitude and just that reflection. I don't think that we spend enough time reflecting and having appreciation for what does exist. But the last thing is so powerful about goal setting, because visualization is real. When that, the whole notion of creating a vision board, that might be a more like advanced version of, let's say, goal setting, because you're taking the time to picture it and put it on your wall or put it on your computer, make it your screensaver or whatever you need to do. But when you can really coach yourself, coach your mind into believing you are worthy of these things, from as small as just having moments to savor every day, or as big as some very awesome trip that you want to go on. It's all relevant, but you have to believe it and see it for it to become something that you work towards and actually achieve.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's so awesome. So oh, please continue.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to mention, to kind of elaborate on more of my daily practice, kind of things that these are more smaller things, but like I said, like we've been talking about, each of us, of the consistency is so important. And other things that I've kind of brought into my routines have been kind of these little things, like I really dove into the world of crystal healing and aromatherapy, and adding all those things into like your yoga practice, your journaling practice. Those things have just really brought to life a lot of the practices that I do every day. And it just brings a sense of like kind of reinforcement, or just additional tools to help in your self-love journey, is just to have those things in your house or around you, just to keep reminding you of how amazing you are and how far you've come, and how you're working on this hard work of learning to love yourself and accept and respect who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my daily practice that I really try to be consistent with. Like, and it doesn't have to take that long either. Like, that's what I really try and help my clients with, is in seeing that it doesn't have to be something that takes you hours, or that you have to hire a babysitter for, or that you have to take a weekend away from your family for. Like, these are all practices you have to incorporate into your life, and they don't have to take, they don't even have to take an hour. Like, all these practices you can be consistent with.
It's funny you say that, because I imagine that there's some people that might be like, I don't have time for self-love. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to sit and like write things and like be in my feelings and do a class. And by the time I do all of this, that took 4 hours. Like, I don't have that time. But it's more like moments, right? They're like moments throughout the day like that are maybe even 5
Yes.
or 10 minutes at
Yeah.
a time sometimes, not like this, 5-hour excursion or something.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I have a method that I've kind of created for myself that really I can I can go through and like I've written this down for myself of like, I can take 5 minutes in each of like the areas of self-care. Like I like to think there's like 6 areas of self-care, and I can fit like I can do really you could do 5 minutes of each thing and you're getting in like all the self-care. And that took you what, like 20 minutes. So and like you said, those can be little moments broken up into your day, and it's just amazing how you feel with just that little amount of time. Like if you're not a person that has a lot of time to be dedicating to this work, it doesn't have to be overwhelming, and I prove that every single day.
And that's what's amazing is that you do, and it's just these special moments that you create that just make you feel fulfilled and giving yourself that time. Like every time of the week, which is, I would say I probably do it about 3 times a week. I do like a face mask at night, before I go to bed. Those are like my best nights. It doesn't take very long. I just leave it on for like maybe 15 minutes, wash it off, and I feel so fresh. Like I just put a new face on. And it's like not that much time at all in my day, and it's like I give myself 15 minutes. It's like not even a big deal, but it's a big deal. It feels like a big deal, but it's not a lot of time.
I know. Yeah.
But I want to come back to something that you said, because there could be people listening going, hold on, you're talking about aromatherapy and crystals, and like now you're on another level. Okay, like I thought self-love was like making
It's true,
myself in the morning and like sitting there for 3 minutes and like drinking it. So I'd love to that might be an exaggeration. But yeah, I would love to know, like, because this is what I think of, when I think about like aromatherapy or crystals, it's like engaging with other senses. Like, because as human beings, we have all these senses, right? Where we have like taste and we have sight. I mean, if we're fortunate, I mean, that's even fortunate. Let's just say that right there. If you have the ability to utilize all the senses that you have, your taste, your sight, your feel, of touch and all of those things, and hearing, right? Like your sound and the things around you. Like if you ever went in to get a massage, what do? Right? They play this like soft, relaxing music. So there's many ways, is my point, that we engage these aspects of our body. And I'm just thinking that's sort of where these other elements play a role, but you are an expert. So maybe you can elaborate more on those pieces.
Yeah, no, you explained it so well though. Like I think that's exactly the connection that it brings to myself, at least, is being able to like essential oils or aromatherapy is so powerful. Like there's lots of research done around how it links to like scent memory. And so if you're doing these practices on being more self-aware of your body and your breath and your how you feel about your body while you're smelling those oils, it just connects to a deeper sense of that practice, right? Like same thing in my yoga practices, I always allow each of my people to have an essential oil roller that they use during the practice as well, because then it's connecting, like you said, the senses. It's connecting your smell to that practice, which just deepens it, I think. And same thing with the crystals. Like if you start to learn more about the whole energy side of like energy healing and stuff like that, crystals hold like a higher vibration than we do. Like as humans, our like energy or our vibration kind of like it ebbs and flows with like what's happened in our day, how we're feeling that day, if we had a fight with someone, or our energy levels or our vibration or our frequency goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So the purpose of crystals, at least in my experience, has been crystals always have that high level, that high vibration or that high frequency energy. And so just by having those crystals around you while you're either journaling or doing yoga or out for a walk, like I have people who stick them in their bra, they stick them in their pockets, like just having those pieces I know. Us crazy mystic people.
You're like
it's
your favorite crystal from your bra, like, yeah, this is vibration.
Yeah. I know.
That's good.
There's people that will argue that it's like placebo effect kind of thing. But I believe that it's so much more, that we all are energy. We're all made up of energy, and just being able to use these tools to kind of just enhance it's helped me in my journey. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of been a part of all the kind of pieces that have kind of puzzled together to create this really deep sense of self-love that I've discovered for myself. So the thing is to think that all these practices have to be your keys to self-love, right? Like self-love looks different for everybody, and your practice will look very different than mine. And you just have to do the work to discover it. Like that's why I'm a high believer in stepping out of comfort zones, because that's the only way that you may discover something that might change your life, or something that might be that, like, let's say for movement, like if you're going to a Zumba class, for example, and you're scared to death to try and dance, that might be that soul movement for you, or that movement that you love, and you wouldn't have tried it if you didn't just take that leap. So I think it goes the same with all of the holistic tools, like the, oracle cards and crystals and aromatherapy. Just being open-minded to kind of be in touch with those kind of healing possibilities is super, super important in our journeys, to just be open to trying these things, because they may just be that one thing that changes the game for you, right? And just allows you to develop that deeper sense of self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, and all those things that could change your life, right?
Yeah, I totally believe that's true. So if you're listening, what I'm inviting you to do is to explore. That's a word that I would throw out there, is to explore some new things that you maybe haven't had as much exposure to, and just give yourself a chance to see what that might do for you. That could be one thing that you get from this podcast, is trying something that you haven't tried before. I think that would be, a great thing to walk away with, is to check that out. And I know that you have a shop where there are some things that you use in your own practice that people can go to on your website, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have, I've published a self-love journal that takes women through, or anybody, doesn't have to be women, but takes people through like 7 key areas of self-love, helping people to kind of work on their confidence and their mindset and forgiveness, boundaries, creativity, gratitude, dreams and goals. And so that's a guided journal that takes you through those things that I have available to help people. And I've recently published a self-love oracle deck that is themed to kind of the mystical side of my self-love journey, connecting to like the chakras and crystals and essential oils and yoga through an oracle deck. So that is available to people too, which has been so fun to create. And then I have a little jewelry line too, that is all based upon like infusing my jewelry with like self-love. Like I have all the bracelets and stuff like that. But and then so that's kind of like the physical products of what I am putting out into the world to help people with.
Yes, sign me up. I looked at your journal and hearing you talk about it, and I just, like, total PSA announcement for folks, because I'm like in this moment with you right now with Martina, is like, I want to get your journal, because I know for me, it is high and lows as it relates to self-love. And while I feel like I can, okay, I'm like totally putting myself on vulnerability right now. I was not expecting to do this in this podcast, but here we are. On a scale of 1 to 10, on self-love, I will say that there was a time in my life where I was definitely like a 3. at best. And that was a product of different things I had gone through in relationships and experiences that just did not make me feel worthy. And so I, like you, have had to do different things to get myself on a better path to recognizing my essence, my being, my beauty, all of those things. And I mean inner beauty more so than anything. And so I would say I'm lucky when I have those days where I feel like I'm like an 8, like that's great. But I still have those moments where I feel like, like I probably have, I'm a 5. And so I really just love the idea of journaling and actually recognizing that there are different elements, because sometimes I don't think we nourish all the elements to the degree that we could. And that's something I would love to personally work on, to just really get in tune with each of the different areas, because I think just like anything else, you could kind of be pretty decent at one thing, but maybe you need to work on some of the other things a little bit better. So
yeah, absolutely.
I invite
and I think it's so important that you touch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I loved how you said the importance of like rating yourself on like one day you may be a 3 and some days you may be an 8, because I think it's so important to recognize that it doesn't matter how much work you do in your self-love, you will always have days where you feel like a potential 3 or lower. But I think that's where the whole part of like personal development and being consistent with your practices and stepping out of comfort zones are such an important way to start to know that those key things on being consistent and knowing that, and still giving yourself permission to have a 3-day and not being like, I failed, I can't do this, I'm not going to do any of these things ever again. It's giving your permission to know that those days still are going to happen. It doesn't matter how much work you do. But it's knowing how to handle those days, right? Meeting yourself with grace and giving yourself permission to feel those things.
Oh, it's so true. Oh my gosh, it's so true. And the jewelry, calm down, because that is like, I love, oh my gosh, I just am a fan of like awesome like jewelry, especially when they have that higher vibration, attached to it. So we didn't talk about this at all, but I'm just going to point out that holiday season is coming. I'm just saying, I really like getting gifts personal that have a little meaning behind it, because while gift cards are cool, or just like the typical thing that you might get somebody in a Target or wherever you're shopping, I always like to think of gifts that are just a little bit more creative, have a little more of a personal touch. So if you're looking for something different, I would highly encourage you to check out Martina's store on her website, which I will make.
Thank you.
So you can check that out. But I do want to talk about another thing, Martina, because I read your latest blog post and I loved it. And you talk about the 4 ways to stop comparison. So I'm going to summarize the 4 things really quick, and then we can discuss it. But you talked about naming your inner critic, being your own best friend, celebrating your achievements, and practicing self-care, which we've talked about throughout this interview, and trying journaling. But that is so awesome, because I feel like we suffer from comparison syndrome. Like, I don't even know if that's a thing, but I just made it a thing right now. Right now on this podcast today,
right?
Comparison syndrome is an actual condition. Coach Des says so. But whether there's like a formal term for it or not, is that not real, Martina? Is this not a thing that you see of people that come?
So real.
It's real, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like comparison is huge, and it's and I am guilty of being that person a lot of the time. Like I will go through seasons where I'll be comparing myself to other people. And so, my tips that I've come up with in that blog post were really a reflection of what I need to hear too sometimes, right? And I think the funnest side of that blog post that I really do love is being able to name your inner critic. I've worked through this with a couple of my people that I work with, and it actually brings such a sense of like ownership to be able to give that inner critic a name. Like my one friend, she named her inner critic Ursula, which I thought was hilarious. And so every time Ursula has that inner critic voice that either starts comparing themselves to others or giving that negative self-talk to themselves, it's just saying that was her and I send her love. And, why would she be feeling that way? Of starting to ask yourself those questions of why is my inner critic saying these things? Like, why do I feel like, or why is that voice telling me that I'm not as good as she is, or I'm not as pretty as she is? And really it's just, I think the biggest takeaway from that piece is just sending that inner critic love and trying to help that inner critic voice heal. Because really that inner voice are the things that we've been taught throughout our whole childhood and adolescence and adulthood of like, this is what I have to be good enough. This is what I have to be good enough. And so those are those like deeply embedded kind of talk that we have in our minds. And so it's important to kind of recognize that voice, it's going to take a lot of work to quiet that voice, and that voice is always going to try and come back. But when you have this sense of being able to recognize when it comes up and having the tools to kind of like wish that voice well, send it kindness, send it love, and just being able to kind of overpower that voice with like your positive affirmations, your positive self-talk. And that's super hard. Like it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It will probably never be easy, but it's such an important part of how it can prevent us from showing up how we're supposed to, right?
Oh my gosh. That was so powerful, Martina. I love just the naming it, because as you were talking about your friend and her naming it, I just decided right now a name for my Cruella.
What is it?
Cruella.
Awesome.
Because well, first of all,
I love it.
Is in the name, and so for some reason like Cruella de Vil, like came in my head. And I love that because once you name it, you can engage with it and you can control it, right? When something is so nebulous, it's taking power over you. And if you want to be able to take back your power, you
absolutely.
You have this dynamic. So Cruella girl, let me tell you, we're gonna have some.
I love it.
That's like
I know. And part of me when I
what are you gonna say?
I know. No, part of me thought when I was kind of like writing this out of like, is it gonna make people think that I want them to have like a voice in their head and give that voice a name? Like, is it a little too far-fetched? But it's like there's voices in my head. It's like, well, no, that's not where I want us to go with it. Well, but I do think like I think it takes away the power.
It does, because we have a subconscious voice in our head all the time. Yeah. Anytime you do anything, there's something that's yes, no, maybe, sometimes. I mean, there's always something talking to us, And I think like these really simple principles that we're talking about today, one I just advised or suggested earlier of, trying something new in your self-love practice. And I think the second suggestion of naming your inner critic, it just gives you power. So, it's something really, it's such a small nuance, but it just changes the game as far as your ability to make yourself deserving of love, So
absolutely.
Thank you for calling that out, because comparison is just this thing that is exacerbated on a daily basis because social media is real and it's there. And think about how much more, like, how has people's screen time changed? Like, is there a study? I don't even know.
Right?
It probably is. Like, Apple and
it's probably horrible.
technologies, have all the data that they've captured. People's screen times have probably, quadrupled or something like that in this time, because you're at home and everything we do is through technology for the most part. But what that means is you're spending probably more time scrolling, more time looking at every social platform that exists, whether you're talking about Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and probably 10 other things that I don't even know about because I just can't. Like, if I didn't have multiple types of entrepreneurisms that I was doing, like, I might be able to see what other apps are out there, but it's overwhelming. There's like multiple times a day, you're basically feeling a bit defeated. You're like, oh crap, I should be eating healthier. I should be exercising more. I should, buy a new outfit. I should buy a new like, you're totally getting indoctrinated. All this stuff.
Yeah. And that's the worst part of it, is that, social media, we can tell everybody all day that we're being vulnerable and exposing our real self. But, how many of us can agree that we show our best light in social media? We don't post pictures of our living rooms in a mess, or our bedrooms, our bed's not made, or, the poutines, or the, unhealthy types of food. We don't show that. Like, we only show our best selves normally on social media. And that is exactly why comparison is such a big problem. And I will agree that I'm not great at it either. And it does expose a really vulnerable side of ourselves. But we have to know, I think it's important to tell ourselves as we're on social media of like, this is just their best selves. They are showing me the highlight reel, right? And so that is a really big important part of comparison too, is to not take social media too seriously, and not believe that that is exactly what everyone's life is like.
100%. 100%. Like, if that was real life, wow, the world would be a different place. That's not
right.
Reality. That's, you're talking about 10% of what is actually life. 90% of the rest of that person's life doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? So a lot of energy expended to make sure that you see that magnifying glass on that 10% of, glorious glamour that exists just about a fraction of the time. And again, that might be a little bit exaggerated, but that is that is a high use of social media, is exploiting what's glamorous, what's not so glamorous. But I want to also come back to, because I was just so excited about the things that you have in your shop. What about your so there could be somebody listening right now that is recognizing their own scale of self-love. This might be the first time someone's tuning in and going, you know what, I haven't even thought about it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I fall lower on than I want to. And it would be great if I could get some coaching and get some support for getting a little bit further, so I can have confidence and worthiness and feel better. What other things do you offer to help people?
Yeah, absolutely. I have numerous ways that I support people in their self-love journeys. My first way would be to join my free community. I have a free community on Facebook. You can type in imperfectlyperfectyou.ca. And that community is just free and empowering you to kind of find all those self-love practices, whether it be, there's lots of different challenges in the group you can go through. So much free content on there that I'm constantly adding to and asking people what they need help with. And so that is a really good resource to start to get to know me a little better. And then after that, I have 3 little introductory courses into how to work with me. You can do that through either, I have a self-love journaling course that allows you to have kind of 3 coaching sessions with me as you go through the self-love journal. And there's like bonus meditations and yoga videos that kind of complement the journal. So there's that. And then there's a Harness the Power of Crystals course that takes you through really basics of learning to explore the world of crystals and how they can help you in your self-love journey. And then my 3rd course is a 28-day yoga and mindful eating program that takes you through 28 days of yoga and 4 workbooks of mindful eating, which is a practice that allows you to kind of ditch the diet mentality and start to take a look at healing your relationship with food and making peace with food, which is a super important part of my journey as well. And then I have just launched my big program called the Self-Love Revolution with Martina. And that is a program that takes you through kind of my self-love at any size method that takes you through mindful eating, mindful movement, your mindset, your mystic and holistic practices, your body image, your self-love, your self-care and self-esteem, and building community. And so that whole program is just such a transformational way to start to transform your view of yourself from like self-hate to self-love. And there's so much in that program. And the thing that I like to elaborate on is that there's not very many programs out there that actually give you lifetime access. Lots of times they're just like, you have me for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. I didn't want my program to be that way. So this program, people have access to for life. They have access to me as your coach for life. I'm going to be doing weekly group coaching calls in there for everybody to just help, because community is such a big part of self-love. I feel like if you don't have people that have been going through similar things, you can feel really alone. And I know I felt alone in my journey because I didn't have that community or those people that were going through similar things. So that is why it's available for life for all the members that have joined, and access to me for life as your coach. So it's huge value and huge transformation. And at the end of the program, I like to all the ladies in the program become a self-love maven. And a maven is the term for knowledgeable or experienced in their field. And so it's just kind of declaring that they are self-love mavens, showing up for life as their confident, most kind of loved self, that they love who they see in the mirror, that they show up for life with confidence, step out of comfort zones, all those awesome things that I hope to help women with. Because just to share briefly, a really important statistic that has kind of driven me in my work is that only 4% of women in the world think of themselves as beautiful. And every time I say that quote, I start to get emotional, because I think it's so sad that only 4% of us actually think that we're beautiful. So, you know, the 96% of us don't see our beauty. And so I want to change that. I want to help women to just shine their light from the inside out, regardless of what size they are, what shape they are, and just to start embrace their authentic beauty. So that is what I'm all about.
Are you kidding me? That is so freaking awesome. I'm like, Maven, hello, can we all get a t-shirt, please?
Right?
Right? Yeah, I like maybe like a bracelet, you know, like some
right
swag. I don't know, I'm just saying that could be added to your crystal bracelet. That's like
totally
some little things around it. I don't know, just a concept, but huge. I think it's so huge, because that's that. I mean, 96%, that is a lot of work to do, everybody. Like, hi, that's massive.
Right? I know.
The fact that we wake up and look in the mirror, or even just be in our own bodies and think like, I'm not beautiful. That's so rampant.
Mm-hmm.
And you being in this,
I know,
you know, to hold space for women and people to just recognize their self-worth and that value is massive. So and this is totally random and unconnected, but I was thinking about this when you said Are nachos considered mindful eating? Because I feel like I think about eating those all the time. Is that on the list of mindful?
Yeah,
On like how?
absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to.
So mindful eating is very similar to intuitive eating. I don't know if you've heard of that. Have you?
No, but
okay. So it's really so
open.
I know. So mindful eating and intuitive eating is this whole perspective of kind of letting go of any kind of diet related rules. So there are no rules to eating when it comes to intuitive eating or mindful eating. It comes to the sense of connecting back to your body, connecting back to your hunger cues, because over time, society and diet culture have pretty much unprogrammed any connection we have left to our bodies. So we are being told when to eat, how much to eat, weigh your lettuce for darn sake. Like there's all these different practices, and that's exactly what intuitive eating and mindful eating is not. It just allows you to start to look at triggering foods that may have triggered like past, big feelings that you have about yourself. It's giving permission to eat those foods, but listening to your body throughout that process. So kind of like there's a whole scale to it of like, being like starving to being like painfully full, and being able to kind of meet yourself in that middle piece and just being mindful to meet yourself where that is. But if you get to that other stage, it's also being accepting of meeting your body where it's at and knowing that we all make mistakes. And it's really just connecting to that mindfulness piece of eating and bringing back the connection to your body is kind of the biggest, like, condensed version of it.
That helps a lot. So that explains quite a bit. My body would like to meet with the nachos. So that's where I'm at right now. Maybe later it will want to meet with broccoli. It's possible. I don't know. But
right? Yes.
Yeah. So that does help. And I think I like that so much better than like only eat 200 calories of bark.
Yeah.
Like for the whole day. It's like, okay, that's not reasonable.
Right?
Yeah, at all. But I do want to ask you a couple questions for people to get to know you a little bit better. So my first question for you is, what are 3 words that best describe you?
Okay. I would describe myself as being kind, would be my first one. My second one would probably be silly. And then my third would be passionate.
I love
passionate towards either like my people or my business or whatever it is.
That is awesome. Those are great words. I love it. Okay. My next question is, what is something about yourself that you're working on improving?
Yes. I am actually working on improving my my relationship with food is my most currently kind of relationship that I'm working on, is just connecting that to the whole mindful eating approach. It is a more recent kind of discovery for me. So I'm just kind of like teaching people as I learn, and I'm still learning. And that's really a focus for me right now, is just learning to heal that relationship that I've had for all these years with food, and just starting to kind of unbreak those kind of things that were, really causing me to have like a horrible relationship with food. And so that's kind of my biggest kind of like what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone in that pursuit.
Right? I know.
Okay. What's a self-limiting belief that you've had to overcome?
One that I keep coming back to, and it's actually like that little inner voice keeps trying to come into my thoughts, and is that you are not good enough. That's always been a limiting belief that I've always had, and something that I always have to keep working on, because there's just something about always having that feeling of that I'm not good enough for this or for that or for this success or for this relationship. So that's a constant struggle for sure with me.
Man, that voice makes its way over here too. That is just,
I know.
That voice,
right?
It has a lot of brothers and sisters out there. Okay, what is one thing that you want to see changed in the world?
Well, I think we've kind of talked about that a little bit, but I want to have a world where all people embrace their bodies exactly as they are in this moment, and that they don't feel that they have to hide themselves or, you know, stay stuck in who they are, and that they're given permission to just be themselves authentically without like any like unconditionally just love themselves exactly as they are in this moment. That is my biggest change I would love to see in the world.
Oh, I love that change so much, so much. Okay, what is one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, that's a good one. I think probably, I know it's I think my biggest piece of advice, only because it was kind of my pivot moment for me in my journey so far, is take the yoga class. Because I had a girlfriend who told me, she kept telling me for months to take the yoga class. I told her that I would look like a beached whale on the mat and that there was no way I was stepping into that class. So I went probably 6 months and she kept on like harassing me. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. So honestly, like, I know it's something so possibly minimal of saying that go to the yoga class, but her advice changed my life. Like it took me down this path. Like it was like there was the fork in the road and it was like self-hate or yoga class.
Yeah.
And so that yoga class changed my life. Like, so her piece of advice is to just doing the thing and trying that something that you're scared of or that you feel like you can't do. That was life-changing for me. So that was probably the best advice I've been given, is just to do the thing.
Yes, that's important. That was a big turning point. And, you know, the rest is history. We've, you know, obviously learned about all the things that you did. So there was a springboard moment, and that was certainly, you know, that was certainly it. So thank you, friend. Thank you for doing that. Talk so much more ever since then. But one of the most important questions that I have is, how can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they keep up with the things that you're doing?
Yes. Well, like you and I had talked about before, there's all the social media things that we try and keep up with. You can find me first on Facebook. So I am on Facebook under Martina Wall, or you can find me on Martina Health and Wellness is my business page, or Imperfectly Perfect You is my Facebook group. And then you can find me on Instagram under Martina Health and Wellness. And you can find me on my website also under Martina Health and Wellness. So those are some ways you can connect with me. I think I'm on TikTok as well. I'm not on there a bunch, but I try and make my face shown there once in a while. But yeah, you can find me on most of the traditional platforms. And yeah.
I love it. That is awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include those links in the show notes so people can find you and keep up with all the amazing work you're doing. I'm grateful because I learned some new things today. I definitely am walking away with some practices that either brush off or some things that I would like to try. So, you know, that is the gift of this time and this space that we have with this podcast, is being able to be right alongside everyone and learn, you know, with you. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to connect and share in this topic that is just so important for us to keep talking about.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
So awesome. Well, I know I'm going to be shopping on your website later, so I would invite others to be doing because, like what he's talking about, the holidays are upon us, and I would like to have more exciting gifts than, a blanket from Target. So, although those are like, I love Target. It's not a knock at all, but, yes. So this has been so wonderful. I'm excited to continue following you. I follow your Instagram page. It's great. I just think you're such an incredible person. And really am excited about all the things that are to come, especially the big program that you just talked about, because I do think it's going to change so many lives.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited about it.
Awesome. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Self-love. What an amazing topic to focus on with Martina today. I'm so grateful. I truly believe this is an area that we can work on more. So to recap, the 3 actions that I would love for you and myself to take is to rate where you're at. That's number 1. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being amazing, 1 being awful, how do you rate yourself on self-love? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, okay? Number 2 is, what is a new practice that you are willing to give a try, to explore, to add to your self-love toolkit? Maybe it's the crystals. Maybe it is doing a different movement that you have not tried but have been thinking about. Maybe it's aromatherapy. It could be a wide array of things. Introduce one new thing to your practice and see how you feel about it. Number 3, this one is so fun. Name your inner critic. I named mine Cruella, so I've done that. I think it, again, gives you that power to recognize when you are giving yourself less than you deserve and are beating yourself up, because we do that. We're human beings. It's human nature to sometimes have these moments where we're not feeling like at our best, or you're doing the whole comparison thing. So terrible. So terrible. Name it. Manage it. Talk to it. Own it. Self-love is so powerful. In the end, we are left with ourselves. You've got to love that person, because they're the only one that is guaranteed to be there with you till the last day that you are enjoying your time on this earth. So managing how you treat yourself is such an important endeavor for us. So with that, remember that you are your only limit. Take action. We talked about some of those actions you can take today. Thank you for tuning in. Rate and review. If you are an Apple listener, just hit those star ratings and take 60 seconds and write a review. And this is one, y'all, that you should be sharing. Somebody in your life right now needs to hear what we discussed in this podcast episode. This is a gift that you could give to somebody right now. Send it to that person that needs to be reminded of the self-love that they need to be giving to themselves, and there will unfold the love that they're able to give unto others. So thanks so much for tuning in. Tune in again next time for another inspiring and fun episode of the Born Unbreakable podcast.